Good evening, I'm Kevin Christopher.
And I'm Nancy Cox. Thank you for joining us at 6. Well, today, not so bad, but later this week, it'll be a different story with frigid temperatures.
So let's check in with our chief meteorologist, Bill Meck, on this Storm Tracker Threat Index one day.
And the threat index is because there could be a few places where slick spots develop later on tonight into tomorrow from a little bit of very light snow. The advisory we have, we're calling it a traveler's advisory because it's something that it may slow you down a little. There may be a few slick spots around, but overall, it's not going to be a big impact event. But you're seeing it from southern Kentucky through eastern Kentucky, and this is where the best threat is going to be, and then on up into northern Kentucky as well. Right now, it's all rain. Max Track Lab Doppler got a line of rain running from West Liberty down to about Somerset. A second batch now coming through the I-71 corridor, beginning to approach Frankfort back over toward E-Town, and there are a few other sprinkles mixed in there as well. Let's go to the future track, though, and watch what happens. We start you at 7 o'clock. We're still sitting mid-40s. Still not bad. Rain at Louisville, snow on the other side of the front as we look toward Indiana. By the time we get you to 10 o'clock, you can see there's a very quick transition to a little bit of light snow. But you also notice there's not a whole lot of snow with this, even as the temperatures do fall. So even if it snows at your house, it's not going to last terribly long. We get you then into the morning hours. You see the temperatures dropping into the teens. That's the big story. And then you'll see temperatures remaining in the 20s as the snow ends in the far southeast. Snowfall amounts south of the Hal Rogers Parkway, an inch, maybe two. For most of the rest of us, if you get a fraction of an inch, that's going to actually be pushing it for a lot. That is saying, though, that we could still see some slick spots develop because there will be some blowing snow to go along with it. Right now, we're still hovering around 50. Boy, is that going to change. And really in a way that we need to really be concerned about looking toward the middle of the week. We'll talk about that in just a minute.
All right, Bill, thanks.
Many organizations and Kentuckians are stepping up to help the homeless as this freezing weather moves in.
One even moved more beds into a shelter at the Catholic Action Center in Lexington. Conroy DeLuche is live there with more about the urgency of that need and the big story at 6.
Yeah, we moved from inside the trailers to outside so we can show you just how big these trailers are. These are both from EDS, which is Emergency Disaster Services. And with the freezing weather and snow on the way, the company says they just wanted to help. The balmy 50-degree weather was a perfect time to put the finishing touches on 2 bunk trailers. Trailers normally set up for crews working after natural disasters.
We have these mobile bunk trailers that are just housed and staged right around the road, and we knew that there was going to be an influx of folks that needed shelter.
And when Alyssa Tybe with EDS saw that the city of Lexington had taken down some homeless camps, she contacted the Catholic Action Center, where every bed was already full.
Even in this weather, though, it doesn't matter if they're camps or not. We need to get all of our folks in.
Since expansion at the shelter was not a feasible option, Ramsey was excited about EDS's offer to bring in 66 more beds.
Even though that's a lot of folks to use the restrooms, the showers, to have the meals, that is secondary when it comes to people's health and safety.
It's different housing folks during the cold months versus the summer and warm months. So we've got them nice and toasty and ready to go, and they'll be here all week for them.
And Ramsey says they are going to have extra security on site with more people being here, but they're going to do whatever they can to get through this week and then reevaluate what they need to do for the rest of winter moving forward to try and keep Lexington's homeless safe and warm. More coming to news live in Lexington from the LEX 18 Mobile Newsroom. Back to you.
Well, people in Garrett County concerned about getting out of the cold will have another option. Officials with emergency management say the county has made arrangements with Lancaster Baptist Church to provide shelter. If you're in need of help, call dispatch at the number on your screen, 859-792-3023.
It's important to keep your pets safe, too. Experts say even outdoor cats and dogs are in danger when the temperature dips as low as expected. Carolina Buchek continues our LEX 18 Storm Tracker team coverage.
This little one and all his friends at the Lexington Humane Society will have a nice, warm place to stay as winter weather hits our area. But others could be in danger. The shelter recommends all pets be brought inside when the temperature drops.
And we do understand that there are animals that, they like being outside a lot, but it's just going to be so cold. Just to be safe, just bring them inside.
Experts say once temperatures drop into the 20s and below, pets do not have the fur capable of keeping them warm. And that applies to most breeds of cats and dogs. Even dogs that are meant to sustain harsh temperatures could be in danger.
Unfortunately, in Kentucky, we don't see these super cold temperatures all the time. So a lot of times, even though they have that fur, they're not acclimated to be out in the cold for that long.
If you absolutely cannot bring your pet inside, make sure they have a warm place to stay with plenty of food and water in plastic bowls.
Make sure that the floor is elevated off the ground. That keeps it a little bit warmer. Put some shavings or some hay in there so the dog has something to keep themselves warm with.
And most importantly, if you see a dog outside in distress, call animal control. They have the authority to come in and help the animal. Covering the news in Lexington, Carolina Buchek, LEX 18 News.
Lexington Fayette Animal Care and Control just released a statement in which they say they may be able to temporarily offer Lexington pet owners indoor crates. So just give them a call at 255-9033.
Well, prepping for accumulating snow is no easy task when road crews in Laurel County have so much ground to cover. Alexa Hellwig tells us what they're doing differently for this upcoming storm.
18 salt trucks and 18 drivers will be on call tonight in Laurel County. When the snow starts to fall, they'll be ready to work long hours. I asked a local in town to guess how many miles of roads these crews have to cover during a snowstorm.
In Laurel County, I'll say 600 miles.
Surprisingly, not quite. The expert says it's a lot more.
We have around 1,200 miles of road.
Bobby Bailey from the road department says they're working with about 200 tons of salt. As temperatures could plummet immensely, they're adding another chemical to the salt this time around.
Salt quits working around 20 degrees, and the calcium will work on down to sub-zero. So we're mixing it with the salt in order to work better in real cold conditions.
All of their hard work is to keep commuters safe, like Lane Jasper, a pizza delivery driver.
We've only got about, I think, 3 drivers, so they do a lot of delivering. They're on the road a lot.
He remembers making a delivery in a past snowstorm that got him into some trouble.
And I was actually turning at a red light, turned left, and it started sliding on me, and yeah, it's pretty dangerous.
And these dangerous situations are what road crews could potentially deal with over the next few days.
They're good at what they do. We've been really lucky not to have any accidents.
Covering the news in Laurel County, Alexa Hellwig, LEX 18 News.
Boy, a lot of weather to watch this week, and you can follow along by logging on to our website, lex18.com.
And take the information with you on the go. Download the LEX 18 Storm Tracker weather app.
In other news this evening, his wife was killed by their dog last year, and now he faces charges related to that attack. 45-year-old April Collins died in November when the family pit bull attacked her in their Winchester home. Sunday, 41-year-old Christopher Collins was charged with wanton endangerment and not reporting a previous incident involving the dog. He's scheduled to be arraigned next month. A well-known search crew from Louisiana is heading to Kentucky to help look for a missing Madison County mother of 4. 22-year-old Savannah Spurlock disappeared 3 weeks ago. She was last seen leaving a Lexington bar. With no sign of her since, the Cajun Coast Search and Rescue Team is on the way to the Bluegrass with a specialized canine unit that has worked on missing persons cases around the nation.
Hard to believe, but it's been 30 years since the execution of one of America's most prolific serial killers. Now, Netflix is the latest to release a documentary about Ted Bundy. LEX 18's Michael Burke has more with a Louisville author whose books have helped shape many of the stories told about Bundy.
30 years after his execution, and Ted Bundy biographer Kevin Sullivan knows exactly how to strike a chord.
It's that outward Bundy that is so appealing.
Good-looking, clean-cut, intelligent, basically everything you'd never think about a serial killer.
Yet the inward Bundy was so incredibly diabolical. It's hard for people to understand that.
Sullivan has written 3 books about Bundy. A 4th is coming in March. His very first, or at least portions of it anyway, have been used in various Bundy documentaries.
I had a guy from Hollywood contact me that I know, and he said, looks like Reels was using your book because of everything that was in there.
Things like Bundy's arrests. Remember, he had escaped from one prison, and most seem to think his carnage was confined to Washington.
The documentarians are looking now at really where he was pulled out of the shadows, which would be Utah, and then the Colorado investigator.
Florida is where he was ultimately executed. On death row is where he finally offered to come clean.
It's called Bones for Time.
And that didn't happen until he exhausted all of his appeals.
And that's when he offered to give it up.
But as Netflix commemorates 30 years, it's clear Bundy's last-ditch offer was almost as helpless as his victims.
And it didn't work out for him.
Covering the news in Louisville, Michael Burke, LEX 18 News.
Sullivan added that Bundy was offered a life sentence in exchange for a guilty plea, but Bundy couldn't get the words out. That special is currently airing on Netflix.
It was a heartbreaking return to Lexington for a woman who was out of town. This morning, her Glengarry Way home went up in flames. It happened around 7:30. Her neighbor, who was helping take care of the woman's cat, tried to get into the burning home, but it was already too late.
I run over, and as I was running over, I dialed 911, opened the front door up, yelled for the cat, but the smoke was down on the floor, and he didn't make it.
That neighbor happens to be a retired Lexington firefighter and paramedic. No word yet about a cause, but the house is believed to be a total loss.
Still ahead, it's not unusual to find books about dogs in elementary school libraries.
But what about an actual dog in the library? We'll take you to Franklin County to show you what a big difference Quincy is making there. Coming up on LEX 18 News at 6.